Whether you're picking and grinning or just grinning, grab a drink, pull up a seat. It's time for Roots Music Rambler. Turn it up. Frank, we have to talk about Steven Wilson Jr.'s cover of Stand By Me to start the show this week. And Steven Wilson Jr. was one of my picking the grinnings from a few episodes back. He's from Southern Indiana, not too far from here in Louisville. I saw him play live at Rooster Tail in Madison, Indiana back in July, and he was fantastic. It was kind of a homecoming concert for him. A lot of his friends and family from where he grew up, wherever he grew up, were there, and you could tell he kind of seemed to be playing to this one little pocket of people out there and looking over at him all the time. And it was a really great show. And he's one of those that I think I said at the time when I recommended him to people that he's one of those artists that has a distinctive sound and voice and is just really, he stands out from a lot of the new artists that are coming, you know, in general. This isn't fair, but in general, new artists that are coming up in a given genre, you could say, oh yeah, they all kind of sound alike in a lot of ways. This guy sounds different. He's just got a different vibe. I'm flipping through YouTube or something the other day, and he was a guest on the Live from the Print Shop podcast or video show. I don't know what they call it because it's really a YouTube show, but I think they do a podcast too. And I saw him, and he's recognizable. So I stopped and I was listening, and he played a cover of Stand By Me for them, which they have since cut up and has kind of gone viral because, well, I don't want to say it. I want you to listen to it and I want you to react to it. So I'm going to hit a couple of buttons here and play this song. I'm not going to play it in its entirety, but this is the credit due here is Steven Wilson Jr. It's just him and his guitar playing on the Live from the Print Shop show on YouTube. And I will link to all these in the show notes so that they get appropriate credit and hopefully a lot of traffic. Go subscribe to them because I didn't ask for permission to play this, but I'm going to play it anyway. So, Frank, I'm going to mute my mic while we play a little bit of this. I'll get to the chorus, and then I want to come back and ask your reaction to it because I don't want to say anything. I just want to play it. So here we go.
Okay. Can I ask a question first?
You can.
Do I need to go get some tissues or like, am I going to cry?
I don't think so. But if you do cry, we can pause the recording so that it doesn't embarrass you on the show. But
all right, just ask.
Just listen to this. Here we go.
When the night has come, and all the land is dark, and the moon is the only light you ever see. Now, be afraid, now, shed a single tear, just as long as you stand by me. Don't you stay by me. Won't you stand by me. Stand by me. Won't you stand by me. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, holy shit. What do you think?
I'm processing. Please hold. Okay. So I will start by saying that Stand By Me is one of those songs that evokes some sort of emotion from me whenever I hear it. Mm-hmm. You know, I remember the song from when I was younger, hearing it at home. And then, of course, one of the defining movies of our generation is Stand By Me. So the song kind of by Benny King had a lot of new attention and fanfare because of that movie when it came out. And I, in fact, love that song so much that I learned how to play it on banjo, making it a little bluegrassy. So I do have an established connection with that song. Okay. So the first couple of chords that were played, like if I didn't know it was Stand By Me, I would have never guessed. And that was really fantastic. Just the guitar work was amazing. So I knew we were going to be talking about this, and I knew you wanted my purest reaction, right? So I've seen that video posted on Facebook a number of times, and I've made sure to not watch any of the videos so I wouldn't hear it. But I know that there is a lot of talk about this cover. So I will say I like the guitar work better than the vocals. Okay. It is a whole new sound, a whole new song. It just a little bit that I've heard. It doesn't sound anything like the version we all know from Benny King.
Sure.
That says something for an artist to take a song that is so well known and well loved and kind of give it a whole new sound. Like I think about Jason Isbell, how he did that with Sad But True, Metallica's song.
Yep.
He made it this like blues cut. So props to Steven Wilson Jr. for that. But I feel like Stand By Me is one of those songs that, I don't know, like it's so established and such a classic that anything that tries to be like it and isn't might not work so well for me. Not taking anything away from the artist or his talent, but I would listen to that again just for the guitar work.
Yeah. Okay. That's fair. I don't know what it is. I think it's the baritone range or something. When I hear someone with that deep of a voice that's able to also go outside and hit really great high notes and like he does. And if you ever actually watch him sing, he barely opens his mouth. It's odd.
I could tell by listening.
Yeah.
I'm like, this dude is not opening his mouth.
No, he's one of those guys who it's almost like a ventriloquist. You looking at him like, is he actually singing? And yeah, he is. It's just how he does it. But for whatever reason, that vocal range and the way that his voice sounds, for some reason, I get goosebumps. And I get goosebumps when I hear a couple of his other songs, not just covers that I'm familiar with, but some of his lyrics are really dramatic and powerful. And so I really, really like him a lot. I wish that it was just, he's from, 20 minutes from here and he's a local guy. But that's not it at all. People in Louisville don't consider Southern Indiana part of Louisville. It's on the other side of the river. It's, it's like,
right.
It's like living on the other side of the tracks, Anyway, I just really like this guy and think he sounds very different and very unique. And if you're looking for something to listen to or somebody to explore that is a little outside the box of what you're used to, Steven Wilson Jr. is going to do it for you. And if you liked any part of that, we'll put links in the show notes again to the video and, props and hats off to the folks at Live from the Print Shop is the name of the video series. Again, I caught it. I think that's the second or third time I've seen their stuff. They're really, really good. They're out of Atlanta. The cool thing about that video is like the host of the show, and I apologize, I don't know his name, but the host of the show is sitting right beside Steven Wilson Jr. while he's singing this. And the look on this guy's face is like, oh my God. Like it's just funny to watch because you realize something really special's happening right there.
Yeah. Oh, definitely.
So
I will listen to more of his stuff.
Yeah.
I like his sound. And like you said, that baritone, which makes me think of artists like Colter Wall, even William Prince. And I know I've talked about him on the show before, his voice, and then seeing him live, I was like transported elsewhere. It was ridiculous. But yeah, I'm happy to listen to more of his stuff. And maybe if I listen to the whole track, Stand By Me, and not just a clip, I may have a different reaction. So I'll let you know. Yeah,
I think you will. I mean, it's just, I got goosebumps second or when he started hitting the high notes, I started getting goosebumps. And the whole thing is just, I thought it was fantastic. So, and it's, I think that one video is like 5,600,000 views or something on YouTube right now. So it kind of blew up for a, small little Americana type podcast or show.
Yeah.
So good stuff there. Anyway, welcome to Roots Music Rambler. She's Frank.
And he's Falls.
And we're rambling on through the music or the stories behind the music we love.
Yes, and today on the show, we are joined by Aaron and Adam Bibelhauser. So the Bibelhauser brothers have a new single out, and Aaron, who is a prolific songwriter, has several active projects floating around Spotify and other music places online. The brothers are based in Louisville, but they tour extensively, and they are touring extensively right now. They've been on Red Barn Radio recently. They're also live guests on Sirius XM's Bluegrass Junction back in August.
Yep. And Aaron Bibelhauser, who is the main singer and songwriter for the group, is also the host of Bluegrass Evolution, which is the radio program that follows Roots and Boots on Sundays on WFPK here in Louisville. So I occasionally open for Aaron, at least on the airwaves. I can't, sing or play instruments, but in the radio version of opening, I'll lead into him sometimes. Adam, by the way, and they are twins. So I know we don't do most of the show on video, but you'll see the social media clips. If you see the social media clips promoting this episode, they are twins. Adam plays bass, and they do have what they call the blood harmony that many siblings share that just makes their songs really a delight to listen to. They write and perform a lot of bluegrass classics, but also a lot of Aaron's original work, which makes them a big attraction in the bluegrass space.
And their new single is called Walking on Water. They also released one a few months back called Sleep 1,000 Years. That one features Dale and Bradley. So we certainly need to ask if that might be teasing out a new album. Mm-hmm. Their recent album releases include a live album they produced last year and a record called Close Harmony, which also came out last year, and both are beautifully done.
The brothers also support several nonprofits with performances and theme music. Aaron composed a theme song for the Louisville Shakespeare Festival this year. He also has a tribute album out there for Mickey Clark, who's a good friend of the brothers. And as we mentioned, Aaron is a prolific songwriter, having composed songs for Dale McCoury, Michael Cleveland, and many, many more. And this is going to be a lot of fun because Aaron plays so many different roles out there. I'm really fascinated on how these millennial twin guys fell into bluegrass music. So it's going to be a fun chat.
Awesome. And also on the show, we'll do our normal pick in the grinnin' segment, share our picks for whose music is making us grin. They might be new artists, might be old, but they'll sure be good.
That is.
Maybe not as good as that Steven Wilson cut, according to Jason, but we'll do our best.
That is very true.
And before we kick it all off, though, I'm curious if any of the Grammy nominations surprised you.
Yeah, I was very surprised. Well, not very surprised. I was a little surprised. The Grammys are one of those that's really weird. It's much more publicity and Hollywood kind of driven, the top tier record company executives driving all the Grammys, as opposed to some of the, like the Americana Music Awards and whatnot. They're all political to some degree. And I mean, we could have a discussion all day about, whether they're even, worth paying attention to at all, because like any contest or any prize or anything like that out there, the Grammys, the Americana Music Awards, the CMAs, all that stuff, they all work the same way. And if you've ever been in the business situation where there's people nominated for awards, it's not really based on who deserves the award the best. It's based on who can afford to pay the nomination fee and then run the associated marketing campaigns to jockey with the voters for the awards. So there's a fairly thick layer of bullshit around all of these awards. However, they typically tend to surface some of the better music, even if there's going to be some people left off. And I think this year there certainly were some snubs and some folks nominated that I would just kind of look at and go, nah, they got nominated because their record company's got a big budget. That wasn't necessarily something I would have thought was on that list. The big snubs, I think there is, and I'll start off with an obscure one because, and I pulled this off of some media coverage. I haven't listened to this myself, but when Joni Mitchell produces an album in the historical category of her archives and is not nominated, someone needs to be arrested. So she was not nominated. So that was bullshit. Marcus King's Mood Swings album, and I know I'm biased as hell when it comes to Marcus King. It was produced by Rick Rubin. It's probably some of the best music that he's ever produced. I can't believe it didn't get nominated for something. Here's another one that bugs the living bejesus out of me. And we had this with the Grammys last year, I remember, when we were talking about, because Tyler got snubbed for Record of the Year, or he didn't get snubbed, but he was nominated for the Song of the Year, whatever it was. But there was the Song of the Year, I think, in the category that he was nominated, wound up being won by the Beatles, two of which are dead. And it's really just producers repackaging old recorded shit. And I love the Beatles. Right. Don't get me wrong. But I don't think they should be getting nominated for Grammys anymore.
Yeah.
And they are this year. The record of the year is Now and Then from the Beatles. And again, Paul McCartney, helped produce it and whatnot, but this is old shit, right? Maybe remastered and all that kind of stuff. So I don't know. I feel like that should be disqualified from some of these things. When you're looking, though, at the categories that matter to people who like Americana, roots music, etc., and this might be one of those calendar things. I'll get to that in a minute. But Dave Alvin and Jimmy Dale Gilmore's Texicali album, which came out several months ago and has been #1 on the Americana list, or was forever, no nominations. Now, there's a little bit of a question there for me, and it's based on the calendaring. Here's my pet peeve about these fucking award shows. All right. My pet peeve about the awards is, why can't they nominate and give awards for 2025 for all of the songs that were published and released in 2024 from January 1st to December 31st? That way there's no confusion as to what year the song belongs in, because I'm rolling down some of these from last year and the year before, and I'm like, wait a minute, that album came out a year and a half ago. Why is that on this list?
Yeah.
So that always confuses the living shit out of me. But anyway, if we go down through the big news about the Grammys this year, and honestly, I was relieved and pleased that Beyonce's Cowboy Carter was nominated so many times, because I thought it was a fantastic album. I don't care what the CMA peckerheads think about it in Nashville, but I thought it deserved a bunch of nominations. It got a bunch of nominations. I think it got 11, which is more than she's ever gotten in one year. I hope it wins, but God, she's up against some crazy competition again. And for her to win Album of the Year or whatever, the one award that she's never won, that she keeps getting shut out by fucking Taylor Swift for every year. Taylor Swift's nominated in the same category for Tortured Poets Department. So here we go again,
Yeah.
But I'm glad she got nominated a bunch of stuff. So let me just real quickly kind of run down some of the categories. I've got a few of them here. I'm trying to scroll down. If you're looking at the list, you got to scroll through best dance and best rock and best alternative and best R&B and best traditional and best progressive and best rap and best melodic rap and best rap song and blah, 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 blah. Jazz is before our category. So when we get down to the stuff that we like to get, fucking musical theaters before you get to our stuff. So field 5 in the Grammys is country and American roots music. So, hey, roots is right there in the damn title on the Grammy.
There we go.
Best country solo performance, Beyonce, 16 Carriages, Jelly Roll, I'm Not Okay. Casey Musgrave's The Architect, which got a lot of nominations. Shaboozie's A Bar Song, Tipsy.
Oh, my God.
And then Chris Stapleton, It Takes a Woman. Those are the nominees for best country solo performance. Not going to argue with any of them. They're all great. But you know what? I find it hard to believe that Chris Stapleton loses in any category.
Yeah. I sure hope he doesn't lose to Shaboozy.
I thought you were going to say that. That's okay. The Shaboozy thing, it's, we're blurring the lines and I like it. It's fine. I'm not going to.
Okay. Well, I don't.
Okay. That's fine. That's fine. You don't have to like it. I'm just saying, he's nominated. Fine. I would be a little perturbed if he won. So I'll join you on that one, because I don't think that's the best song in this group, or performance.
Wait, which one? Group. Stapleton's or Shaboozey?
No, Shaboozey.
Oh, yeah.
I think this comes down between Chris Stapleton and Casey Musgraves, in my opinion. But yeah, that's just me.
Well, yeah, and then. Okay, keep going. I was just going to chime in on the whole Beyonce thing, but we can do that in a bit.
Okay, all right. So, best country duo group performance, Kelsey Ballerini with Noah Kahan, Cowboys Cry 2, Beyonce featuring Miley Cyrus with Most Wanted, which might be the odds-on favorite to get that. Brothers Osborne, Break Mine, they've won before, and I love the fact that they posted on their social media when they got nominated again in order to celebrate their nomination. I think they were doing shots out of their previous Grammy trophy, which I thought was really funny. So, which is kind of a nice way of saying, the award show, you got to take them with a grain of salt. Dan and Shay are in there, and Post Malone featuring Morgan Wallen with I Had Some Help. Yeah, we'll skip that. Best country song, The Architect, the Casey Musgrave song. You got A Bar Song, Tipsy is nominated for that. I Had Some Help is nominated. I Am Not Okay, Jelly Roll is nominated. And then Texas Hold'em. And that's the best country song. That might be Beyonce's best chance of winning one of these, I think.
Yeah.
Because honestly, you know, say what you will about the cross-pollination of, you know, hip hop and popular music and the country sound. It's a damn good song. It really is.
It's very catchy, very catchy. We had a big conversation about this last weekend with my family. I think the nominations must have just been released or announced. So the fact that Beyonce made a country album, like, that doesn't bother me. In fact, I've defended it to people who, you know, are like, why is she making a country album? Doesn't she have enough money? Like, stay in your lane sort of deal. And then I have to come and remind people that country music is really like has its roots with African Americans and et cetera. Okay. But we're not going to go back into that whole conversation right now. And that being said, though, I listened to Cowboy Carter in its entirety one time. And I've not gone back to it. Okay. Not because I dislike it. It didn't grab me enough to go back and revisit it. Texas Hold'em, I don't mind that song. It is very catchy. And there's another song that's on that album. And, oh, geez, is it The Protector? I don't remember the name of it. But when I first heard it, it was like, it felt like she had written it to her daughter. And that one really, you know, struck a chord with me. And I would say those would probably be the top two songs on that album that I would, you know, listen to again. Mm-hmm. So yeah, I mean, I don't have a problem with Beyonce being nominated in these country categories. You know, like, is Post Malone a country singer? No. So why is he in the country category? You know, even, yes, I know he collaborated with Morgan Wallen, but it can be argued, is Morgan Wallen even a singer, right? I mean, the guy's a piece of shit. Oh, and wow. I don't care who hears that. Yeah, I do not hide my contempt for Morgan Wallen. So anyway, yeah. So, but then I was glad to see like Waxahachie and Sierra Farrell get nominated. And, you know, as a rule, I don't really pay too much attention to awards shows. Sure. And like after the fact, I'll be like, oh, well, they won. That's great. You know, but like the Grammys, and I think about like the Secret Sisters years ago, they were nominated. And that to me was a big deal. And it seemed like it was a big deal to them. So I was very happy for them. Yeah. You know, so in those like really isolated cases, I can get behind it. But for the most part, I couldn't care less about award shows. I like what I like, and I don't like what I don't like. And I will tell you about both categories.
Apparently so. So yeah. I'm glad you brought up Waxahachie, Sierra Farrell. Adrian Linker was also nominated. Teddy Swims was nominated. Rhiannon Giddens had a nomination or two in there, which is great. Charlie Crockett was actually also nominated for $10 Cowboy. Sarah Jaraz was in there again. I really like her a lot. She's won a bunch of Grammys before, so she's kind of in the inside circle there. They all, the voters and whatnot, know her, so she's a possibility in there as well. So there's a lot of good stuff. All right, we're going to end this little Grammy conversation though with a bit of trivia for you. I came across this trivia by way of my working at WFPK because Beyonce, should she win, certainly would not be the first African-American to win a Grammy in a country or Americana category, a roots category. There's been plenty of others. But did you know that the first African-American female group to play the Grand Ole Opry and to win a Grammy for a country song happened in 1974? Can you guess who it was? The name of the song was Fairy Tale. They made their Grand Ole Opry debut October 25th, 1974. It was the first Opry appearance by an African-American vocal group, male or female. The song went on to win the Grammy for Best Country Vocal Performance by a Duo or Group in 1974. It was the first awarding of a Grammy to an all-female vocal group and made this group the only black women to date who have won a Grammy in a country music category. Who was it?
I certainly don't know. October of 1974, I was 8 months old.
Okay.
So I couldn't even come up with a guess.
Well, you may need to change your pants after this because you're going to shit yourself.
So here I'm thinking, once you say who it is, I'm going to be like, oh, okay. Maybe I should have known that. But all right, let's hear it.
That would be the Pointer Sisters.
Oh, the Pointer Sisters. I'm so excited.
That might be the best response to that ever. I'm so excited. So yeah, Pointer Sister, 1974. They won a Grammy. They appeared in the Grand Ole Opry. So that ceiling technically was broken a long time ago. Unfortunately, it's been, a lifetime for the two of us since that ceiling's been cracked again. So hopefully Beyonce will do that a few times at this next go round with the Grammys. All right. Well, we are sipping on a bourbon. Oh, by the way, the Grammys are February 2nd on CBS and Paramount Plus. If you're interested in watching those, we'll certainly probably come back and talk about them to see who won and all that good stuff because it's somewhat interesting. Anyway, we're sipping on a bourbon and I'm out. So we're going to take a quick break for a refill. Take a moment, if you will, and listen to more about the awesome sponsors that help make this show happen, including Musk Ox Flannels. Folks, it's wintertime. Got to have warmth, got to have flannels. And why not have flannel warmth with something that makes you rubbable? That would be Musk Ox Flannels. So you go muskox.com/Rambler and use the code Rambler and you're going to get a discount, and $10 out of every $100 you spend there goes to wildlife conservation. So they're doing good for the earth and the animals on it. And that doesn't even count the good they're doing for us animals on it who are wearing them rubbable muskox flannel shirts there, so go get you some. There you go. When we come back, the Bibelhauser brothers, Aaron and Adam, join us. Don't go away. This is Roots Music Rambler. Hey, gang, I was not a flannel guy until I found Muskox flannels. Now, I don't want to wear anything else. Well, I mean, pants, but you know what I mean. Anyway, so Muskox is a premium flannel shirt that comes in various colors and styles, but also all season or heavy. So they have different weights and thicknesses. They even have sizes that fit big boys like me. Now, Frank, I hear the ladies like the flannel look. Is that accurate?
Yes.
Yeah, there we go. Nice. So one Muskox flannels customer actually said they are buttery soft, but built like a tank. I resemble that remark, especially when I'm wearing my Muskox flannels. They also, by the way, give $10 of every $100 order to support wildlife conservation. So you're doing some good for the earth and the animals on it with every purchase. Visit gomuskox.com/Rambler, browse the collection and get you some buttery soft, built like a tank premium flannels. Make sure you use the code Rambler, all caps, and get the discount on your order. That's gomuskox.com/Rambler. Use the code Rambler, buttery soft, yo. That might be my new hashtag.
When I hear steam whistle blow, captain's telling me we're leaving port. I'm so sorry, baby, that I've got to go. Well, I just can't stay. The muddy river is calling out my name. Riding on these lines, don't know any other way. I'm rolling through your city, I see you waving hands. We'll circumvent the locks, navigate the dams. Rolling through your city, nothing special about this town. There ain't much space between walking on water and drowning.
Welcome back to Roots Music Rambler. That's the new single from the Bibelhauser brothers. It's called Walking on Water. And the brothers themselves are with us this week on the big program. Aaron and Adam, welcome. I'm so glad to have you guys on the show. How are you?
Howdy. It's great to be here.
Yeah, howdy. It's great to be here. Thanks for having us.
We're glad to it. So let's just start off in the present. You guys have been touring rather extensively the last few months, last couple of years. For me, anyway, watching you guys, is you seem to have been a lot more active and busy as your popularity has risen. I know you put out a couple records last year. I'm wondering, though, if the activity that seems to be coming out of the two of you for the last couple of years was really purposeful in pursuing that sort of musical dream, or just the result of supporting the albums. And I know you guys have been around a while. It just seems like the last couple of years you've been a lot more visible and active. So is that intentional, or is it just a byproduct of promoting albums?
It's certainly intentional. This has sort of been a real growth year for us as a band. Adam and I have played music together most of our adult lives, but not in this particular ensemble. And this band kind of came together after we put out a record called Close Harmony. And another band that I had been working with kind of unraveled all at once. And we found ourselves ready to make some music together again. So we put this band together, in May of last year? So it's been a year and a half, something like that. And this last year was a real big growth year for us to get outside of this last year. I'm talking like it's over. It's not over yet. It's not New Year's yet.
It's almost Thanksgiving, which means it's almost Christmas, which means it's almost New Year. We've just dated the entire recording now. Everybody knows exactly what time it is.
So it's been a real growth year, and we've gotten to make some music outside of our hometown, which is really fun. And it's sort of a necessity if you want to make your music more relevant, and make it a little more sustainable. To keep coming back, you can come back to a different audience instead of coming back to the same 200 people in Louisville.
Another thing that coincided with that kind of that reboot and starting up this band in this particular configuration with these guys was coming out of COVID-19. I had a daughter that was born right before COVID, and I was kind of like, ooh, I need to take a little backseat for a little while, and Aaron explored some other options, and then the timing worked out really well to hit that reset button, and we came back together, and it was magical on this Close Harmony record that I've been wanting to do for probably about a decade, and we finally got this thing out there, and it was just a good moment to come back together and join forces.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So I'll ask a little bit more about that album and then the live album here in a minute, but I know you guys have trickled out 2 new singles recently. We heard Walking on Water coming back from the break, but there was also Sleep 1,000 Years not long ago. Does that signal maybe a new album in the works or no?
100%. It does.
Very good.
It does. The new album is almost done. And I think projects like this are always almost done until you've got them out.
And man, it's a good one. And I say it's good because we've got some other guests joining us at various parts of the project, and it's really exciting stuff.
That's awesome. Well, we can't wait, and we'll certainly keep everybody updated on that. All right, let's talk about the albums that have already been released. You released 2 last year, a live album, and then
here's you mentioned, one of them right here.
There you go. And Close Harmony, obviously, the one that Adam mentioned a minute ago. I really love the Close Harmony album because obviously I think it sort of intentionally focuses on harmony. But if I'm not mistaken, your first album was 2011 or something like that. Take us through the history a little and why there was such a layoff between one and the other set.
Yeah, there's been a bunch of life changes since then. Like I said, it's a long time ago. But this band has evolved a few different times. Adam and I started playing music together when we were young adults in a band called Relic. And that was our local, we played on the same corner here in Louisville for 10 years worth of Wednesday nights. And,
closer to 15 than 10.
We earned our, we played together with Relic for almost 20 years to get total, but we did 10 years of a standing residency thing in Louisville for a long while. And during that time, I had written some songs that I didn't feel like we were going to do as a band. And so that 2011 album is a function of the fact that we wanted to make some music outside of the regular repertoire we were playing with our band. And that eventually included enough studio musicians to not be a band record at the time. Mm-hmm. And so it was the initiation of the Bibelhauser brothers as an ensemble, as a recording artist.
And one of the cool things about that record other than the fact that it was released on 11/11/11, I think we missed a prime opportunity to do one on February 2nd, 2022, but we missed that opportunity. The cool thing besides that is Steve Cooley, who's now in our band and played on these two records that we're talking, the most recent ones and the one that's coming up. He really produced that record and really recorded and engineered with
that
us.
2011 record.
The
was
2011
yeah.
one. And Jeff played the fiddle on it, and Jeff's brother Ivan played the dobro on it. So it was a lot of fun. And so we hit the reset button and we got a new thing, but we kind of grabbed the best of what we already knew, which was cool.
Yeah.
So,
in the meantime, though, in between those two, we had another version of this band that was sort of a country rock ensemble, and the stuff is out there, and it's all listed under the Bibelhauser Brothers Band, all three words. But that stuff was just so different musically and sonically than from this that we decided to maintain the Bibelhauser Brothers brand as sort of the bluegrass arm of things.
Yeah.
And we'll see what happens next. But like I said, I worked with a few different bands during that interim in between those two records. So this was really just Adam and I coming back together and singing songs, recording songs that we had been singing together. The Close Harmony record is almost all brother duet style songs that are, covers from days gone by. And the ones that aren't, we've kind of made them into those, into brother duets. But the most notably, like When I Stopped Dreaming from the Louvin Brothers catalog, and The Banks of the Rio Grande from the Delmore Brothers.
what would you give in exchange for yourself?
Yeah, the Monroe Brothers, the Stanley Brothers, Jim and Jesse McReynolds are all sort of represented. And those guys, including the Osborne Brothers and the Dillards, who are not featured on this record, but all those brother duet groups had such a big impact on us. We wanted to share our own interpretations of some of those songs. And that's what the record Close Harmony was all about. In stark contrast to that 2011 thing that was all Adam and I trying to figure out how to write new songs, Eventually we figured it out. I'm not sure we had it figured out.
The other big thing that happened between 2011 and this reboot was Aaron became a serious songwriter. He won the Chris Austin Songwriter Contest at Merle Fest. He wrote songs for Del McCoury. He wrote songs for Dale Ann Bradley. He wrote songs for Mike Cleveland. He wrote songs for the Balsam Range. Wrote songs for himself, but he became a really serious songwriter in that amount of time. And he also did a wonderful tribute to our friend Mickey Clark, who passed away a few years ago. And that was just a real precious, precious project.
Yeah. So I would imagine, obviously, that the songwriting since 2011 is a major difference in what you're doing now. You mentioned there's a lot of the same musicians that are involved. What are the other differences in the Bibelhauser Brothers products now versus back then?
Well, the current stuff, especially the live record that you mentioned, and the brand new stuff that's coming out is much more representative of what we're out playing and touring with right now. And a lot of that is original music centered. And Walking on Water is sort of an exception to that you just played. That's a Nick Dittmeyer song, another guy from our region here that I've worked with a bunch, and I'm had so much admiration for his work that I thought, well, we're going to steal that song and make it into a bluegrass hit, But yeah, much of our new material is based around this new personnel in our band, which they're not new to us. They've been lifelong mentors and heroes to us. Jeff Guernsey on the mandolin and sometimes fiddle, Steve Cooley on the banjo, and they both switch around and play other instruments on the record too.
Very cool. Well, let's dig back into some music. We're going to go to break right now with the other new single this year from the Bibelhauser Brothers. This cut is Sleep 1,000 Years, and this is Roots Music Rambler.
Daylight shining through the curtains, creeping in. The rise and the fall of your brows while you're sleeping in. As I gaze upon your face and I wonder, are you dreaming of me in your slumber? Or am I the one that's dreaming of you lying in my bed? Are all these thoughts just make believe residing in my head? Should the morning find me all alone in tears? I'd close my eyes and sleep 1,000 years. Sleep 1,000 years. Big old moon shining all night long, from dusk to dawn. Nothing lasts forever. By the banks of the Rio Grande, where the whispering willows all stand, it is there we will choose a cottage home for two, where the moon shines down o'er the sands, where the water ripples the tune. On a balmy night in June, it is there we will be so happy and free, by the banks of the Rio Grande.
That is the aforementioned Banks of the Rio Grande from the album Close Harmony from the Bibelhauser brothers. Aaron and Adam are our guests this week on Roots Music Rambler. All right, I want to get back to the harmony thing, especially with the Close Harmony album. You're twin brothers, of course, so that would imply you have, I think it implies you have
Telepathic abilities.
Okay, well, telepathic, that was going to be part of the question.
He made me say it. I didn't.
Yeah,
he made
that was
say
me, actually. That wasn't him. That was
And
me.
I can attest to the fact they didn't like elbow each other or anything. It really came out that way. But I've always heard of this blood harmony thing with siblings and relatives. I'm curious if the twin thing has some special effect on your music. My brother and sister are twins, and they have the uncanny ability to annoy the shit out of me. But I digress. I know that
we can do that to you too, buddy.
Well, I'm sure you can.
We can do that to you.
I know that twins often talk about having that cosmic connection. Is that true with the two of you somehow?
Well, I do usually kind of know how he feels by the tone of his voice, especially if there's something not real good going on. But I would not necessarily attach it to the cosmos. I would just attach it to spending a whole lot of time together and just loving each other. Because I do, you know?
Familiarity.
Well, I mean, it's not just familiarity. It's really a genuine, sincere care for each other. And,
Sure.
You know, I think some of the harmony, you know, blood harmony sort of sounds kind of gross, you know, but I think a lot of that could be familiarity. But as far as having that connection with each other, you know, I wake up most days wondering what's going on with him and give him a call and see what's going on. And, you know, yeah, you're connected to each other. We were born together, and, you know, here we are.
and in much the same way that you can sort of finish, you know, sentences with your spouse or something like that. If you spent if you'd spent 40 years with this guy, you'd understand what he was.
My wife says we're starting to look more like each other again all of a sudden.
Somebody might need to shave or something. That's funny. So family obviously has a big place in the group, but take us back to the early days when the two of you were growing up. When did you first encounter music? Who led you to this, and when did you discover you had a talent for it?
I started playing music when I was in the 4th grade. I started taking piano lessons. There was a keyboard of some sort available that I could beat on over at my grandmother's house. And I made enough noise on that thing that they either figured that it was so bad I needed to get in lessons, or they thought it was good enough that I was showing interest. And I started taking piano lessons. Now, I never played music with another person ever until I was a young adult, and I was starting to play music with Adam.
Mhm.
There was a very short window of time where I was learning to play the banjo and not playing piano anymore. I was sort of just diving right in banjo, skipping the guitar altogether. And I started playing music with some guys, and we were jamming. Adam can tell you more about it, but he was around, and there wasn't a bass player around.
Yeah. There was a fellow that played fiddle, a guy that played guitar, and a guy that played mandolin, and there was no bass. And actually, Aaron and I were on the way to a little holiday picking party at a friend's house, and we were on our way to that party, and I was just tagging along. I had never played an instrument or sang. We were listening to the Stanley Brothers on the way there. And
I wonder what song it was.
How Mountain Girls Can Love.
Okay.
And I started singing along just for fun. And I didn't know nothing about tenor versus lead versus baritone. Aaron started singing the high part with me. I was like, man, that's pretty cool.
There you go.
A couple of those incidences. And then I quickly learned how to play bass just so I could sing along.
Very nice. So did you play anything before bass?
No, I did not have any interest in the piano. And
if Yo-Yo Ma was your guest here, would you ask him if he played anything other than the cello?
Yeah, I would.
You would? Okay.
Yeah, I'd be like,
all right.
You play other shit, Yo-Yo?
Yeah.
That's a Steve Martin interview.
I do play a little bit of guitar, mostly just to sing around the house and to write a little bit of music here and there. But yeah, mostly I'm a bass player, and I only learned so that I could sing along with my brother. So
that's a sweet story. I'm curious, why bluegrass? You guys had to have grown up around it, I would think. I'm guessing here, but you guys are, I think, millennials generally in terms of generation.
Maybe
younger,
not.
Well, maybe borderline.
Yeah.
The younger generations, though, younger than like hippies and boomers from the folk days in the 60s, younger generations almost always seem to be family driven in the bluegrass world. Is that true for the two of you?
It's very common. I reckon it is true for us,
Yeah.
But we didn't really listen to much bluegrass very directly when we were young people, but we did listen to stuff that had a lot of big harmony singing it. Our dad sang barbershop quartet music, and so that was a big deal with the harmony singing and like picking out parts. And both of our parents were old folkies, and they listened to stuff like John Denver and John Prine and Simon and Garfunkel. Yeah, the
Carpenters.
Yeah, anybody that had that real rich vocal layers, and John Denver in particular had some impact because he crossed over and had fiddle and banjo and dobro on his recordings. But when we became young adults, I met an old fella, and this is interesting that you bring this up because there's a song featured on this new record that's not out yet, and it's titled Snook Hudson. And you'll hear it eventually, but that was a real character that had a profound impact on me when I was playing just piano. I met this old guy down in Eastern Kentucky through some friends, and they had these little picking sessions where all these neighborhood folk would come over and jam and sing old standards and pick and sing. And there was an old piano in the schoolhouse where we would gather. He made me beat on the piano with him to like I'll Fly Away or Will the Circle Be Unbroken or something. And it wasn't very long that I just was dying to play like banjo or mandolin or something. And one of my uncles had bought a banjo, so I ended up with the banjo.
Nice.
And that's the long and short of it. But we did grow up right here in Louisville. It's been a hotbed of bluegrass music since the late 1960s. I mean, it's always been a relevant place geographically for bluegrass music. Bands like the Newgrass Revival and J.D. Crowe and everybody from Vince Gill to Keith Whitley had kind of made their way through our town here. So that certainly, we're bridging the gap between those names that I dropped with guys like Steve Cooley and Jeff Guernsey, because they were around for all that stuff and worked directly with all those folks.
Yeah. And actually the first bluegrass band that I saw live was the Hog Operation with Steve Cooley playing the banjo. So that was quite a while back. And the first bluegrass song that I ever heard was the Dillards doing Dooley. So, and he was part of that band too.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
Very cool. I was fortunate. I consider myself now, I didn't consider myself fortunate then, but I now consider myself fortunate to have grown up in Pikeville, Kentucky, which, you know, has the annual Hillbilly Days Festival, and bluegrass is, you know, thick in them there hollers up in there.
Mm-hmm.
We're driving through there this weekend. We'll wave to your family.
Please do. You can stop by and have a meal at Mom's. I'm sure she would be glad to have you.
She'll put a pot of beans on for us.
She will. They're probably already on with the weekend coming up. But I remember when I was a kid, I went to see Ralph Stanley and the Clinch Mountain Boys at Marlowe's Country Palace in a little roadhouse they had there in Pikeville. And I was probably 10 years old. And so just growing up around it, I didn't appreciate it as much then as I do now. I wish I had, because I was much more into, I want to be cool like rock and roll music. But yeah, if you're from this area, and by this area, I mean everything from the Appalachian Mountains out to, you know, the far ends of the other side of Kentucky, you're going to grow up with it to some degree. So it's going to be there for you. Aaron, real quickly about songwriting, as you became a more prolific songwriter over the last 10 years or so and wrote for other people, I'm curious if you wrote for other people or you wrote songs and pitched them to other people and hoped they took your stuff.
There's a couple of examples of both, probably. What there isn't is an example of me saying, I'm going to write this song and they're going to cut this artist is going to sing this song and make a record out of it. That's never happened. So what has happened is I've written songs, ended up pitching them to an artist, and they did it. Other things that have happened, like we got to meet Del McCoury at a show at the Brown?
Yeah,
House? Brown. Yeah. We opened the show, and I left a CD for him, and it turned out he was just listening to it going down the road and decided to record one of my songs. That was not pitching anything. Yeah. We weren't trying to get anything done, but it was really a big experience for me to hear like heroes, bluegrass royalty singing one of my songs.
Yeah.
But on the other end of the spectrum, when you say writing for somebody, I have when I co-write. Dale Ann Bradley and I regularly co-write songs together that we're planning on recording either for my record or for her record or something for the band that we're going to feature her on. Matter of fact, Sleep 1,000 Years, she's singing on that, and she's going to be featured on another song on the record. And we're going to be featured on, Adam doesn't know this yet, but we're going to be featured on a song on her record coming out soon. So, and I've been writing with John Cowan and a few other people that aren't necessarily household names, but they're very influential, impactful artists to us. So I've been really lucky to have those opportunities creep in too.
That's very cool. And Adam rolled off a few of these earlier, but just because I wrote them down to make sure I covered them all, just to go over Aaron's quality songwriting roster here, his resume. Blue Collar Dreams is a song that Balsam Range had on the IBMA charts for, I think, 6 months. It was number 1 for them. And that song was the Merle Fest Chris Austin Songwriting Competition winner and the IBMA Song of the Year in 2016. Aaron, tell us a little bit about that song. How did that come about?
That song is very autobiographical, and I'm only going to correct you on one thing. It did not win Song of the Year. It was nominated for Song of the Year, and it won Album of the Year, and it was feature single for that album, whatever. Close. But I'll take it. Several folks have made that mistake, and I usually just let it slide. But that song's very autobiographical. I'm an electrician by trade, and I spent 22 years doing that before I went to full-time music myself. You know, much of that work ethic informed some of my songwriting, you know, and a lot of songs, I think the best songs can say something symbolically, and maybe we're talking about our work ethic, and maybe in real life, the real thing is some relationship goal that we're tackling. Mm-hmm. And anyway, a lot of it's symbolic and metaphor, but that one is very, very directly autobiographical of just being up, nose to the grindstone every day and thinking, man, I think I'd like to leave all this behind. We'll just keep working. Keep working. That sentiment comes back in my songwriting about every 10 songs that I've ever written is about that.
Well,
in some form or the other.
Let's go to break then and give that song a listen. This is Balsam Range with Aaron Bibelhauser's song, Blue Collar Dreams. More from Aaron and Adam when we come back. This is Roots Music Rambler.
tears and sweat. Blue collar dreams keep me in debt. Can't tell you why I don't leave this old one horse town behind. My good intentions withered on the vine. Hustling for nickels, but I can't save a dime. I try to walk that straight and narrow line. Well, I need a small vacation, but I ain't got the time. Bright and early, I'll be back to the grind. With an aching back, blood, tears, and sweat. Blue-collar dreams keep me in debt. Can't tell you why I don't leave this old one-horse town behind. My good intentions withered on the vine.
Like a long, lonely stream, I keep running towards a dream. Moving on, moving on. Like a branch on a tree, I keep reaching to be free. Moving on, moving on. There's a place in the sun where there's hope for everyone, where my poor restless heart gotta run. There's a place in the sun, and before my life is done, gotta find me a place in the sun.
Place in the Sun is the name of that beautiful number from the Bibelhauser brothers. It's on their Close Harmony album from 2023. Love the back and forth on that with the two of you. Adam, does your brother come to the table with songs and just tell you how he wants it done?
Well,
or is there MMA action that happens to make those decisions?
Funny that you should ask that question on this song, because many times he does come to us with songs and very explicit direction and guidance on what he wants to do. Those are usually songs that he wrote. Sometimes there's heated debate about exactly how we execute things, but honestly, that's part of my maturity as a father and as a musician and as a brother.
He says.
I sort of have learned to follow the instruction and then see how it sounds and then go, is it really what I wanted, or can I live with it? And most of the time, even if it wasn't what I wanted, it sounds better than what I wanted anyway. So I'm learning that. That's where I'm maturing. However, on that particular song, I actually brought that song to the table. It's an old song that was recorded in 1968, I believe, by Stevie Wonder. And I found a recording of Stevie Wonder and Tom Jones singing it. And as soon as I saw the video of them singing it together, and I thought, I don't know who else would watch the video of these two great singers and think I should sing that. But I thought we should sing that, because I thought the harmonies were so cool. Me and my brother could do that, and we can do it like nobody else does it. And I called him. I said, man, we got to try to sing this song. And it was during COVID, and I came over here and we played around. We were sort of pretending to social distance or physical distance. And we sang it out in the garage out here. We were 6 or 8 or 10 feet apart from each other. Yeah. Because we were trying to do the right thing. But it was so cool. That song, I just had the vision that it was going to become a sort of a bluegrass brother duet. Not exactly bluegrass, but still in that vein.
I'm glad you played this song, because it really is. Adam had 110% of the effort on making sure that became a bluegrass thing that we play every time we play music together now. It's probably the third or fourth song we play almost every set. One notable thing I'm just trying to lift Adam up on his effort to make this into a bluegrass song. It's in the key of B flat for all you bluegrass guitar pickers out there. Put your capo on the 3rd fret and play a G chord. So it's not a G run, it's a B flat run. But Lester Flatt used to play this move in bluegrass, at the end of a tagline or before the vocal starts where he goes, "Dun-ga-dun-ga-dun-dun." And during this live performance of Stevie Wonder and Tom Jones, at some point, the young Stevie Wonder in this recording,
He scats one out.
giggles out, "Dang," you know,
and he's got the biggest smile and he's clapping and that's like,
yeah.
and me and Aaron are watching the video and he goes,
Okay.
he just did a flat run.
yeah, he's just Stevie Wonder doing Lester Flat,
And I hadn't even picked up on that when I decided that I loved the song. So yeah.
That's fantastic. Well, I love it when artists I love cross genre covers. And so anytime, whether it's a bluegrass artist like yourselves taking a song like that and making it bluegrass, which I know you guys do with a lot of songs, or if it's somebody in rock or country or even R&B taking something from bluegrass or country and turning it and morphing it, I'm fascinated with the ability of a song to transcend genres. And so I love hearing those types of songs and how you guys do that. Obviously, somebody like Stevie Wonder has been a part of a lot of that too in his career. So I can see him smiling.
The next, this project being mostly original material, the next project that we do, we're talking 2025 and beyond, it will be a bunch of covers that you've maybe never heard as a bluegrass song.
Mm-hmm.
But I also had this wild idea with Jeff Guernsey, our bandmate, to start a TikTok, a presence of me playing piano and emulating Michael McDonald singing bluegrass songs. I know it's strange, but you heard it here. You heard it here first, and it's gonna be songs like, you know, "Rolling My Sweet Baby's Arm." Ain't gonna work on no railroad. Ain't gonna work on no farm. I'll just lay around that shack till the mail train comes back. And I'll roll in my sweet baby's arm.
That's great.
So you heard it here,
fun.
folks.
That's fun. All right. Well, that'll be a social media clip, and we'll scoop your new channel on the whole thing. That'll be great. I love that shit. That's fantastic. Goodness. So, Aaron, you're also the host of a popular radio show on the public station here in Louisville that I am also involved with. Tell us about Bluegrass Evolution.
Man, I was lucky enough to just fall into a very lasting friendship with Michael Young, who is actually a mutual friend of ours. Mm-hmm. And he is, has always been sort of a supporter of what I've been doing musically, but also a mentor in some regard. And especially as a radio DJ, I always listen to Roots and Boots, his show that's been running for several decades now. But I was always a fan and a supporter of his show. And we had this mutual admiration thing going on. And eventually, Michael invited me in a few different times to co-host segments. And I thought, well, this is really cool. He's just looking for something different to do. And this is amazing. And then, at some point after about 3 or 4 of those, he sprung it on me that he was training me to take over a 3-hour time slot to play bluegrass music at WFPK. And I was really grateful for that opportunity because it had never dawned on me, even though I have thousands and thousands of bluegrass recordings that I'm looking at on either side of the computer screen here. We have bunches of vintage recordings, and I'm trying to keep my finger on the pulse of what's going on in the current events in bluegrass music right now. So it was an obvious choice, but I didn't think it was obvious at the time because I really didn't know anything about radio. So, but much of my credit is going to go to Michael Young on that. He taught me what he told me was, he said, you know, all the parts that you can't learn. All you need to do is learn the parts you can learn. And so much of the credit goes to Michael for encouraging me to do that.
As they say in the sports world, you got a good eye, boy. That Michael Young's got a good eye. So Bluegrass Evolution follows Roots and Boots now on WFPK in Louisville, 91.9 FM.
6 to 9 p.m. every Sunday evening.
There you go. And then Roots and Boots is 3 to 6. And Roots and Boots is the show we've talked about here on this show before. I fill in for Michael when he's sick or out of town or whatever. And so it's been kind of my entryway as well. So Michael has recruited both of us into the public radio family. And the notable thing I think about Bluegrass Evolution is it's probably one of the bigger bluegrass devoted radio programs on a major AAA format station that really matters in the radio space in terms of the ratings and the chart rankings and things of songs, because WFPK's it's public. It's one of the few radio stations in the region that has a performance studio. So WFPK and Louisville Public Media themselves are a big deal in the music world, and to have a dedicated bluegrass show and Michael's dedicated Americana show on that station is pretty significant. You got really fortunate to walk right into a situation where now you're a notable person in the bluegrass world outside of music, which is significant.
Well, I've not thought of it in those terms exactly, but I do want to recognize that my predecessor, we had a bluegrass show for 30 years before I took over that time slot, and it was called Sunday Bluegrass. Matter of fact, we kept that branding name for a year or so into my tenure as a radio DJ, just to provide some consistency and sort of passing of the torch. But my predecessor was a guy named Burke Bryant, and he knew an awful lot about bluegrass music, and he met and interviewed, and I've heard the interviews, and they're really good old interviews of him with first generation bluegrass stars like Lester Flatt and Earl Scruggs and Bill Monroe and the Stanley Brothers. And so I walked into some pretty big shoes.
Yeah.
Now, Burke was a seasoned radio personality by the time I took over the spot, and he was sort of beginning to slow down a little bit with his on-air presence. So I was very grateful to get that job, but I was also a little torn about it because I had spent a lot of time sitting in front of the radio listening to Burke Bryant and his radio show too. So.
Yeah.
Two real quick things about Burke. One time he introduced us at a show with our Relic band, and he said, "Well, they tell me these boys are good." Which
it's a rousing endorsement from our local bluegrass,
which was incredible. Right? It's like, wow, I don't know if that's a compliment or not. But another funny and just cool moment with him one time, because he liked to tell a lot of stories, was, and I won't even tell you the story, but the preamble to the story was, and the second time I met Hank Williams was blah blah blah, right? And I'm like, my head exploded. I'm like, wait a minute, you met Hank Williams? Wait a minute, you met Hank Williams twice?
Yeah.
I'm like, I'll never meet anybody that's met Hank Williams before. So anyway.
Oh, that's great. I also wanted to ask Aaron, I think you also recently, if I'm not mistaken, composed theme music for the local Shakespeare Festival. Is that right?
I did both. I composed and music directed for a production of the play As You Like It.
Nice.
And then I made a recording of some of those demos and made a full bluegrass production recording of all of those songs that were co-written essentially by me and old Bill Shakespeare himself. He wrote the lyrics in the original folio that are 400 years old, and there's no music to go with them. So anytime somebody does a production of that play, they either have to borrow a previous version of the song or make one up. So good folks at Kentucky Shakespeare Festival here, Matt Wallace and his colleagues there, hired me to write music for these songs. And it was really, really special. And I got asked back the following year to write, you mentioned a theme song, and I did write a sort of theme song for them too. And it's called Gather Round. Nice. That was for their 60th anniversary season a couple years ago.
Very cool. Well, and I know you're involved with lots of other artists. I know I've been spinning that Pat Younger duet record that you guys made not long ago. He's one of our buddies here in town. Me and the Stars is the name of that. My only other question for you, Aaron, is when do you sleep?
All day long.
He sleeps it every morning. You know, he talks about leaving the working class behind or whatever this was on the Blue Collar Dreams. But I call him every morning on my way into work, and half the time he's not awake yet.
That seems kind of a cruel twin punishment you're executing there, Adam.
I do get some sleep. I probably get a lot more sleep than this guy. Full-time dad, and he's out bush hogging, 100 acres out an hour drive away and coming back and running a multi-billion-dollar facility. And so he stays busy. And don't let us fool you. It looks like I'm doing a lot on paper,
Well,
right.
From a musical standpoint, it's prolific at least, which is really, really nice. So tell folks where they can find you guys on the internet, where they can check to see you playing live and all that promotional stuff.
Bibelhauser is sort of tricky to spell, but we've got So Instagram handle is a phonetic pronunciation of that. The easiest way to find us is bluegrassevolution.com. It's easy to spell. It's also the name of my radio program and the name of our quasi record label, independent record label at this point. So bluegrassevolution.com is sort of a clearinghouse where you can find everything Bibelhauser related.
Very good. Well, we're going to put links to all the stuff in the show notes with everything spelled the right way so you can get there to it. And if you want a link to this episode, we're going to tease out their social media handles too. We do our special short links for each episode. The link for this episode will be rootsmusic.link/Bibelhauser. That's BEEBULLHOWZER. That's not how you actually spell their name, but that is how you spell their social media handles, Bibelhauser. So we're going to spell that short link the way that you guys spell the Instagram and other channels, so it's a little easier to find. And of course, you can also find them on Spotify and all those other places where you can stream and purchase their music. Aaron, Adam, it's great to finally have you guys on the show. Can't wait to get out and see you live soon. Thanks so much for being here, guys.
Thank you, Jason.
Sunday and it's raining in Alaska. 7 days I haven't seen the sun. Flying bush, flying low along the shoreline, doing everything I can to make it whole. I can't wait to see the Wrangell Mountain. I can't wait to do what I will do. I need it, I'll never say time goes by so slowly when I can't wait to get back home to you. It's been 3 years from the war, settled down now, and I've done my time to serve my country well. But in the freedom I defended, I'd fly beneath the North Star. I just don't know a better way to be. I can't wait to see the Wrangell Mountain. I can't wait to do what I will do. I need it, I'll never say how time goes by.
Welcome back to Roots Music Rambler. Great chat there with the Bibelhauser brothers, Aaron and Adam. Please be sure to go check out the links in the show notes so that you can find all their wonderful music and projects and all that good stuff on them, their interwebs. You can find, as I mentioned with the folks there as we were closing out, you can find this episode at rootsmusic.link/Bibelhauser, BEEBULLHOWZER. That's not actually how you spell their last name, but they make it easy phonetically. Bibelhauser. There you go.
Oh,
So that's how you'll be able to find this episode if you're looking for it. If you're just
All right.
listening and you need to know where to go, of course, you can always just go to Roots Music Rambler and find it, but trying to make it easy for you. All right, it's time for our Picking the Grinning segment. What music out there is making Frank and me grin this week? It's might be new artists that we've discovered. It might be old artists that we've rediscovered or have started listening to again. Whoever it is, whatever it is, it sure will be good. So, Frank, who is your Picking the Grinning this week?
so it's funny because I just decided about, I don't know, an hour ago who my Picking the Grinning was going to be this week, because I was in the car with the teen on her way to another social event. So I had to drop her off. And that thing where you've got the radio on, and whether it's commercial radio, it's like satellite radio, whatever. And then you hear a song by one artist on one station, then you flip the station and there's a song by the same artist. And then the joke is, okay, did that person die? Or, did somebody in the band just die? And now all these stations are doing their tributes. And that was kind of what happened when we were in the car together just a little bit ago. So first I had on Sirius XM Outlaw Country, and the song that was on was Bottle Rocket Baby by Old 97s. And so that was over. I didn't like what played next. So I was flipping through the stations, and then I get to 93 XRT, which is a Chicago station and legendary, been around for decades, probably the best radio station in this whole city. And if you don't agree with me, then, I said what I said. Fight me. Okay.
She's on a streak today, folks. She's like,
I am.
This is what I think, and you can go fuck yourself.
Yeah, I kind of am. And maybe it's because I've been spending so much time just grading papers. It's the end of the trimester, but whatever.
There you go. Cranky pants.
So
all right.
I need a little bit of an outlet here. But anyway, so 93 XRT, and what comes on is the song Champaign, Illinois by Old 97s.
Yeah.
And so I said to Lucia, hey, look, it's Old 97s again. And she's like, did they die? And I said, well, geez, I hope not. I really hope none of them died, and oh God, if Rhett were to die, I'd be so sad.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how I decided that Old 97s would be my pick in the grinnin' this week, because I have been listening to them since the 90s, right? Like, not religiously. I mean, I am a fan of Old 97s. Am I like a big fan? No, but I have seen the band and Rhett by himself. I don't even know how many times. It seems like whenever he would come to Chicago solo, or, the band comes, I just found myself at the show. So I just saw Old 97s over the summer. They played American Music Festival at Fitzgerald's. So that was the last time I saw them. And there is a new album out. So they're my pick in the grinning. I mean, you can't listen to Old 97s and not just get a smile on your face for whatever reason. Not all of their songs are fluffy and fun. Rhett is open about things that he has experienced throughout his life, and it's not all happy. So, Old 97's great band. And I do have to make a comment about the song Champaign, Illinois. Okay. Because, Illinois, I'm from Chicago, whatever. Champaign is the home of the University of Illinois. Yep. All right. And I am so glad. And I don't care who hears this too. I am so glad I was not accepted to University of Illinois when I applied back in 90, because if I had, my father probably would have made me go there, being in state and all. Yep. Because when I visited Champaign for the first time, I was like, ew. And I know plenty of people who went to school there and loved it and had the best time, and I don't understand. I did visit the campus to visit my friends many times, always had fun, but I just remember thinking, I'm so glad I did not go to school here. It does nothing for me. In fact, my sister went to University of Illinois. She lasted 1 year because she hated it so much.
Wow.
So when Rhett sings, when you die, you don't go to heaven, you go to Champaign, Illinois. I get it. I feel that, Rhett.
Okay. So I've learned a new lesson today on the show. We should wait and record these when Francesca's pissy, because the conversation is much more energetic. This is good stuff. I like it. All right. Here's my pick in the my pick in the grinning's not too far off center of what you picked, because I've been listening to the new album that was released last year called Should Have Learned by Now by Lucero, which is a fantastic band. If you've never heard them, out of Memphis, Ben Nichols is the lead singer, and he's got one of these really cool, rugged cowpunk voices, and his songs and whatnot have that sort of cowpunk sort of, get away from me kind of attitude. And it's just kind of fun. We've talked a lot about how I love the Bottle Rockets, and, we all love Uncle Tupelo and whatnot. And Lucero's in that sort of mix of kind of alt country cowpunk sort of sensibility. And I've just been jamming on them lately, and immediately started looking them up to see where I could see them play live and all that good stuff. So Lucero is my pick for picking the grinning this week. So with them and Old 97s, you're probably going to have a knee slapping good week, folks. And plenty to listen to.
Absolutely. Both catalogs are pretty extensive.
Yeah.
Hey, can I chime in though about Lucero?
Sure.
They are doing a 3-night run up here for New Year's.
Oh, cool.
So they're playing December 29th, 30th, 31st. And I think I'm going to go to one of the shows. I think I'm going to go the 29th, but I have friends who have the 3-night pass. So, if you and Karen need something to do, come on up. We'll go see Lucero.
Well, one of those nights I don't know if Karen's going to go with me or if my son's going to go with me, but Marcus King is playing in Evansville, Indiana, which is not too far down the road. So I bought tickets to that. I'm going to see Marcus King for the 4th time this year. right before New Year's. So excited about that. We've been talking probably too much today, but we've had a great interview with the Bibelhauser brothers, and Francesca's all pissy. So it's been a great show. This has been fun. Roots Music Rambler is a production of Falls and Partners, copyright 2024. Our theme music is Sheepskin and Beeswax by Genticorum. Join us online at rootsmusicrambler.com and make sure you mash that subscribe or follow button so you remember to join us for the next Hoe-Down and Throwdown. She's Frank.
He's Falls.
And whatever you do, kids, ramble on.